one of the issues that comes up, I think a lot of people over the last few years have talked about this idea that a problem with Section 230 is that it forces internet websites to decide whether they're a platform or a publisher, and that it creates these different things. I know everyone on this call knows that that's wrong, but Jessica, I wanted to go to you and just, can you discuss this whole platform versus publisher debate?
Yes. Parenthetical heavy sigh to start. And then, if you listen to the podcast, this kind of was like the whole deal, right? Like, well, these message boards are not really publishers. That's not quite right. They're not really distributors. That's not quite right. This is, hey, check it out, something new. And we might need to reset a little bit and give this its own category. And I think to say that there's this dichotomy there, or that's the trade-off there, misses the whole point of what Section 230 is. Section 230 is a new thing. It's a new legal regime of how to deal with those issues when they're online like that. They're not a publisher, and they're not just a distributor, right? And those legal frameworks that had grown up for each one of those things were not useful to this new medium. So it's like, yeah, they're neither. No kidding. Moving on. Like, join us here, how many ever decades later, where you can talk about Section 230, but not that part's not up for debate.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that gets me is, one, that it confuses the entire point of Section 230, which was really to say that an internet service provider can act like a publisher without having the liability of a publisher. And you need that because of the scale of the internet. And that's the thing that people often miss. And they say, well, a book publisher, well, they have to be responsible for everything, which isn't even entirely true if you look at the history of the law there. And I love to point out there's a famous case in which there was a book publisher who published a encyclopedia on mushrooms, and apparently had an entry for a mushroom that was poisonous, but the entry in the book said it wasn't poisonous. Someone ate it and was injured and sued. And what the court said was that the publisher still wouldn't have had the knowledge to know. And when we're talking about the internet with millions of pieces of content every day, there's no way that they're going to know. And the beauty of Section 230 was that it said, we don't want to have to fight that out. We don't want to have to go through the long process in a court case of trying to figure out how much knowledge did who have when about which things and were they actually illegal, because that would be incredibly costly and would make it impossible for the internet to do what the internet does. And so recognizing that, like, this whole issue of like a distinction between if you do too much, you become a publisher, doesn't make any sense and would do so much harm to the internet.